We are Ole Miss Rebels. As Mississippi's flagship university, we dig deeper, see farther, work harder. We pioneered human organ transplants. We helped prove Einstein's theory of gravitational waves. We are conducting life-changing research that solves the problems of today. We are Ole Miss, transforming lives and the world.
Welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. Now we're going to do things a little different. We are going to provide an honest look at Ole Miss athletics for the fan, by the fan, and of the fan. That is what we do. Hell be to me. I'm just kidding. Tune in for some Ole Miss sports news. We're going to give it to you straight. Yeah, right now. The POMcast starts now. It happens now. Holy cow. Listen to me. It's starting. Well, it's going to start right about now. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the POMcast on this beautiful Tuesday morning. Actually, we're dealing with a little bit of storms down here at the palatial Central Florida studio, but it's a nice day nevertheless. So thank you very much for joining us today. Today's show, we're going to cover Ole Miss soccer going to their third NCAA tournament in 4 years. Doug Nikhazy, National Player of the Week. We're going to talk a little bit about the spring game, and then after the break, we're going to have a nice little around the SEC preview. Corey Burton stopped by, and we kind of talked about the all things SEC East and what each team needs to do moving forward. And tomorrow we're going to do the West as well. So you have that available to you pretty much today. And we're also going to release those around the SEC previews as a standalone tomorrow night. If you just want to wait to listen to it because they are a little bit long. I think our East preview is about 24 minutes and our West preview is nearly 34 minutes. So it takes a little bit of time. I know normally the show is a 30-minute show, and we're going to try and keep it as much as possible on this first one. But tomorrow is going to run a little bit long. The SEC West preview is going to run a little bit long. So let's get through the news of the day as quickly as we can, and then we can move on to other stuff. But first, I want to tell you about the Vault Society, and that's the big push right now is Vault Society level support, which is a 5-year commitment of support. Membership starts at $5,000 per year. That's $25,000 overall. And there's a benefit chart on the site. I'll tell you the site in just a second. All gifts to Ole Miss between now and June 30th will receive triple points. Red points are for non-deductible and go towards priority seating. Blue points are 90% tax deductible and go towards parking and non-home ticketed games. That'd be postseason, bowl games, neutral site games, things like that. If you're interested in that, if you want to see all the benefits, go to givetoathletics.com. Again, that is givetoathletics.com. They're doing really good work over there. Now, Ole Miss qualified for the NCAA tournament. They found out just the other day, and as part of doing that, they will play Ole Miss in Wilmington. Basically, if they win that game, they go to a series, and on the other side of the bracket, they say Terry on the teams that are coming waiting as they go into the field of 48 for the Rebels soccer team. This is the finding out the news that they're in this one, but they would play Bowling Green, which is the champion of the and champion of the just a second. 48 teams begin their champion of the MAC will be available for that first game. So if you win that game, you get Southern California, who I believe is the 8th seed in the tournament. They only seed the top 16 teams. and they have a bye in the first round. And on the other side of the bracket is the 9 seed, which is Duke. So that's a pretty big situation for the Rebels soccer program. Congratulations to Coach Matt Mott for doing a little bit of the work and moving on to the next round. So that's pretty cool for them. In other news, Doug Nikhazy was named National Player of the Week. This was
1-2.
Of his
and there's strike 3 called on the outside corner. So Hancock strikes out looking. Bulldogs strand the runner at first. We played 1 in Starkville, and Ole Miss has an early 1-0 lead.
Big deal. And he's absolutely deserving for just doing an above and beyond performance in Starkville.
Swing and a miss and a breaking ball down, and that will end the inning as Nikhazy strikes out the side in the bottom of the second pitch. But it's also a big
pitcher of the week there. So Doug Nikhazy wins it. Soccer going to the NCAA tournament. Those are the 2 big news items of the day. Ole Miss plays in Little Rock tonight. You can tune in for that. I do not have the starters at this point, but that will come up eventually. I am curious to see if Jack Doherty pitches again tonight and see if he can string together outings like he did last week. So that's something to see, especially with the bullpen woes. You're looking to see them progress, and that is an avenue that we can use to get a little bit better. The Grove Bowl is this week, as you've seen on Twitter, the hashtag and picture party in the SIP. Grove Bowl is at 4 o'clock on Saturday. Admission is free. They're trying to pack as many people into Vaught Hemingway Stadium as you could. If you heard me yesterday, you would be aware that I am very much, let's see, what's the word I'm trying to do? This is going to be a very big deal to the fan. This is going to be an XL type moment. Now, we've done the Arkansas series and we're going to do the LSU series this week, but whenever football is involved, it's a little bit different, even though it's a spring game. So I'm looking forward to seeing the XL of the fan base. This will be the moment to where everything can start to move forward. And, it'll just be nice to see Vaught Hemingway Stadium, with all the fans in it, all the cheering going on. And you get to see some storylines too, like Matt Corral throwing to what should be his second or third level starters. You get to see him at a less than full strength offense. You get to see what he looks like. There will be no quarterback running and all that stuff, so that kind of affects the offense in a way if you take away the quarterback run game, which last year they did a very good job of doing that. But Vaught Hemingway Stadium, they're hoping to fill it up as much as possible. These games aren't very well attended normally, but in this case, they're trying to set it up as an XL, a party, a symbolic gesture of everything going back to normal. And if you want to be a part of that, the game is at 4 o'clock on Saturday. And let's see, the other games going on. Ole Miss versus LSU game 3 starts at noon. So that should be over in time to get over to the game. And immediately after the Grove Bowl, softball plays Auburn. So the newly ranked, by the way, I think they're 23rd or 24th. I don't know exactly which one, but they're newly ranked, the women's softball team, in the top 25. So that's kind of a big deal as well. So I think we're going to take an early break in this show. And when we come back, we're going to go straight to the Corey Burton SEC East preview. That'll take us to the end of the show. You will not see me again in a live capacity. And tomorrow we'll do kind of a similar thing. We'll do the news of the day and then get on to the SEC preview, because honestly the SEC preview is really good. But, let's see. Yeah, we'll do that. And we will handle that pretty immediately and get that done. Commercial break first. Go into around the SEC preview, which will take us to the end of the show. You will not see me again. So thank you very much. And, of course, hotty toddy.
You want to answer that, don't you? I bet it's just killing you seeing the soft glow just inches away. Someone wants to tell you something or ask you something. Oh, come on, answer it already! Just so we're clear, that wasn't my fault. Next time, ignore your inner voice. Don't text and drive. A message from Florida's trusted choice independent insurance agents.
Hey, this is Stephen Willis. I just want you to stick around a little longer. We're going to get back to the podcast right after these messages.
Tonight, nearly 40,000 veterans across the country are homeless. These men and women have pledged to serve our nation, and now we must serve them. Landlords across the country have helped make significant progress in reducing veteran homelessness by making housing available, but there is more that we can do to bring our veterans home. Visit www.va.gov/homeless to see how you can get involved. And if you are a veteran and you are experiencing homelessness, please call 877-4AID-VET. Thank you.
All right, welcome to a special edition of the POMcast. We got Corey Burton. We're going to do a little around the SEC preview.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and just really big-time stuff. We're going to go over different divisions per show. We're going to start off in the East as just to throw a bone to my co-host and friend here from around the SEC. And, you know, he wants to talk about Georgia. We're going to let him talk about Georgia. How you doing, Corey?
I'm great, man, and it's always good when I get to talk about Georgia.
Yeah, exactly. JT Daniels had himself a nice little spring game, it looks like.
He did. He had great command of the offense, was really good and accurate on the deep ball. He hit freshman Adonai Mitchell for a nice touchdown right before the half. And it just showed, you know, he's got some pocket mobility issues and some pocket awareness things that he's still got to work out. That's always been a kind of a weakness for him. But as far as taking command of the offense and getting the ball and pushing the ball downfield was absolutely amazing on Saturday.
Now, honest to goodness, we ask this question every year. Do you really think Kirby is going to take his hands off the offense to protect the defense and just kind of let the defense go willy-nilly?
I think so. I think all the pieces are finally there. I think he feels good enough with the weapons he has offensively to be able to do so. I think with the wide receiver position, it's been really weak for most of his tenure here, outside of a couple of guys like Terry Godwin, Mecole Hardman, George Pickens. Outside of that, it's been kind of lean at that position. Now you got a bunch of guys. You have two freshmen, Justin Robinson and Adonai Mitchell, that came in and immediately contribute. Kyrus Jackson looked really good in his limited opportunities, which I think that was kind of by design. Jermaine Burton emerged a lot last year as a frequent target of JT Daniels. He was banged up in the spring, so you didn't really see much of him in the G-Day game. And then, of course, you have Arian Smith, who's going to be the guy that takes the top off the defense. And you got Darnell Washington at tight end at 6'7", 285. Just a matchup nightmare. You stick a small corner on him, he's going to get run over. You saw that. He had a 53-yard catch. Or you put a safety or a linebacker on him, somebody with a bigger frame, and he's just going to run right by you because he can move. He's fast. So there's a lot more weapons at his disposal now than he's ever had. And then, of course, Kendall Milton is your third-string running back, and he could start just about anywhere in the conference. So it's a great problem to have to figure out who's going to do what. But, yeah, I think he's going to open it up. I think you kind of saw that. I think it would have been more of a ground-and-pound affair at G-Day to see what these running backs have, but you saw them catching balls out of the backfield. You saw vertical routes, a lot of them, especially off play action. So I think the first series you threw 7 passes. I think it was like a 10-play drive that resulted in a missed field goal, but you threw 7 passes, and JT Daniels was 5 of 7 on that first drive. So you can kind of see it's going to be either quick game, vertical down the field, or they're going to take advantage of the run, and you're going to see a lot of RPO too. So it's gonna open up, I think.
Yeah, and people forget that JT Daniels reclassified up and was still the number one quarterback as soon as he moved up. So there's all kinds of talent just oozing out of him, and it's just all up. Like last year, it was all due to the tighter the reins on the offense, the worse the team performed.
Exactly, and you saw that. And when JT Daniels came in, they actually went from scoring 29 points per game to scoring 37 points per game. So you saw the uptick in production given the constraints that they had on that side of the ball, whether it was, Kirby not feeling comfortable with a first-year coordinator with no prior fall camp, spring practice type deal where they could do normal installs. They were behind in that regard. So there was a little bit of protection there. Now it's full bore. You had a full spring session. You're going to have a full summer. It's going to be all regular stuff now. So I think they're going to open it up. Plus, the weakest part of your team is the secondary, and that's not due to talent. That's due to lack of experience. And so I think Kirby now realizes, hey, I got to score points if we're going to win, because another thing that was evident from this G-Day game is that this defensive secondary, albeit they're fast, they're talented, they're going to make some big plays, but they're also going to give up some big plays as well.
Yeah, and people need to realize that play volume, whenever they decide to turn the offense loose, play volume is going to make the defense look worse than it was, but it might not be.
Yeah, it's never as bad as it seems. It's never as good as it seems. You look at the way college football is trending right now. You look at a game like Ole Miss Alabama, where Alabama had to score 62 points to win because Ole Miss pretty much scored on every possession they had. That was probably one of the most fun games to watch because it was so back and forth. It was so explosive that, and usually when you have those defense optional games or offense optional games where it's like 10-9, they're not all created equal. Sometimes you can have a great 10-9 ball game. Sometimes you can have a really terrible 62-59 type ball game because it's just all sloppy and turnovers and whatever. But that Ole Miss Bama game was neither of those. It was exciting. It was just complete execution. And that's the way college football is going to trend. I'm not saying scores are going to always balloon into the 60s, but it's becoming, you have to score to win. You have to score early, you have to score often, and you have to score in bunches to be able to get ahead of a lot of these opponents, because defensively there's so many things that are built to the advantage of the offense. It's going to be tough. And the play volume, you said, it's increasing with these tempo offenses. The passing game has become ever more prevalent. Quarterbacks are getting better. So you're going to see big plays. It's just limiting those big plays and being on the right side of the ratio of those big plays. If you have more explosives in your favor than you do against you, you're typically going to win. And you're seeing it play out in these FCS games, actually.
Yeah, and on defensively, what used to be a stopper defense, and that was the goal, that they get 9 points a game, is now about 3 possessions where you get an explosive, either a turnover, a big lost yardage play, just to slow it down and allow your offense to go on a little bit of a run.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's going to be stop defense now. You're going to see a lot of match zone, which is going to appear a lot like man-to-man, but it's actually kind of zone. You're going to see a lot of creative coverages. You're going to see a lot of stuff being built on the perimeters to kind of limit downfield plays. The goal of defense is not necessarily points. I mean, yeah, I would love to shut everybody out, but that's not going to happen. The goal is to make teams go on 10, 12, 14-play drives to earn it, because, again, with play volume, yeah, you're probably going to get more explosives, but you also have more chance for turnovers and for mistakes on the offense. So if you can make them earn every inch, that's a win for the defense. Even if they score, that's a win for the defense, because eventually they're going to wear down. They're going to make mistakes.
Yeah. All right, and let's go off from Georgia a little bit. Let's look at Florida, which looks like from the outside that Dan Mullen is going to go back to his old Chris Relf playbook, basically, with Emory Jones. And I just don't see how they can avoid taking a major step back.
They are. I mean, you just lose so much production with Kadarius Toney, Kyle Pitts, and Kyle Trask that naturally it doesn't matter who you have at quarterback. You're probably going to have a little bit of a downgrade. Offensive line has been an issue for them for quite some time. It's going to continue to be until they start recruiting better at that position. It's the state of Florida. You're going to have skill guys everywhere. I mean, they're probably going to have some productive skill guys. That's just the nature of what recruiting is like and what the state of Florida is like. But yeah, I mean, you have to expect that Emory Jones is nowhere in the same ballpark as Kyle Trask. They're gonna have to do some different things with them. They're gonna have to get creative with them, but they're also gonna have to understand that, hey, at some point we may have to put in a young guy, an inexperienced guy. I wouldn't be surprised if Emory Jones got pulled midway through the season. I mean, it's gonna be kind of rough.
Yeah, there's a high potential, and this is nothing against the kid, but a Dwan Mathis type situation. There's a definite cause for concern for that. How do they look on the defensive side of the ball? Are they going to be able to be carried a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, with Todd Grantham, they're always going to get pressure. That's one thing they do well. They get after the quarterback, and they get those big runs defensively. They get they're big on negative plays. But then if you get in third and long, they're big in giving up explosives as well. So they're a feast or famine type defense where if they get some momentum, they're really, really tough to keep out. But if you can get some momentum on them, their defense, it's going to get kind of erratic and chaotic. And I think that comes from the top as far as the defense coordinator. He has a playbook that's about a mile thick with, 47,000 coverages in it and pressures. And it's a lot to learn. You go play defense at Florida, you almost need a PhD just to get through day one install. That was the same. The same was true when he was at Mississippi State. The same was true when he was at Louisville. The same was definitely true when he was at Georgia in his first defense coordinator stint. So, he's an NFL guy, right? He comes from a background of we're paying guys millions of dollars to learn these big, giant, thick playbooks, and I'm not necessarily that's wrong. That's just the differences in the NFL and college football. You have time restrictions. You can't possibly learn all that stuff. And I think it's just old habits are hard to break in that regard. So you always see some confusion with the Todd Grantham defense. You always see some big plays that shouldn't happen because somebody busted coverage, somebody couldn't get aligned, somebody missed a tackle. Some things have to go by the wayside when you have that many pressures. But on the flip side of it, when they do make a big play, it's exciting. And it amps that team up. So, you're going to see a very kind of up and down defense.
Yeah, and you would think in this era of, like I said before, just trying to make a stop, trying to make it explosive, get a turnover, this is in Todd Grantham's wheelhouse. Now, you can't expect him to stop somebody for 60 minutes consistently because there's going to be busts, but he can get you 3 or 4 if they start rolling.
Yeah, and usually – in the wins that Florida did have last year, they were able to capitalize on those. Like, that's the difference in last year's Florida team versus the previous year, where Kyle Trask wasn't as good, where we didn't know all about Kyle Pitts, and he didn't emerge to be the overall, arguably the overall best player in the draft. That's not a quarterback. They didn't have those type of answers 2 years ago. Last year they did. You have to play that style of defense, you have to have a complementary offense that's going to be equally explosive. Florida had that last year. Florida's not going to have that this year, at least as of right now. They've got some things to figure out. If they do figure some things out, great. But I just don't have any confidence in them that they will, at least this year. But they're going to gear up towards getting a lot of guys experience and really kind of making a push next year.
All right, let's look at Missouri. Elijah Drinkwitz had a nice run in year one. What are you looking for from the Tigers?
Connor Bazelak, it's going to go as he goes. I think he's as special of a quarterback as anybody in this conference, maybe even in the country. He's extremely talented coming in as a sophomore. Took his lumps early, as you saw Missouri, and even when we previewed him on our show around the SEC here, that we saw them kind of gradually get better. They started out with Alabama on the road. That's not an easy game to start out with as a freshman quarterback, B, an SEC rookie head coach. He's not a rookie head coach, but as far as SEC goes, he's a rookie. He doesn't really, this conference is different from the Sun Belt, obviously. But
yeah.
I'm looking to see they were young last year, so they got a lot of experience coming back. I'm excited to see on both sides of the ball how that talent progresses, how they can kind of take some of those games that they didn't quite get over the hump with last year, if they can get over the hump now. Like the Georgia game got away from them. They were tied at one point in the second quarter, it got away from them. They gave up a few explosive, momentum got the best of them, and you saw a talented, more experienced Georgia team roll roughshod over them. They've got to be able to, in tight ball games with teams that are equal or even slightly better than they are, they've got to find ways to win. And I think you'll kind of start to see that because this is a tough bunch, a resilient bunch, and they can make some plays. And I'm excited. Connor Basilick's got a year under his belt. He knows the league now. He knows the coverages he's going to see, and he's going to go out and do it. I'm liking them at this moment. I'm liking them to finish runner-up in the East. I think that game with Georgia is going to determine the East. I think Georgia's going to be too much for them, but I think they're going to finish runner-up in the East.
Okay, I was going to say I'm looking at them for be about third. The team that they're in contention for third is Kentucky. Tell me a little bit about the Wildcats, especially with them changing offensive systems.
I love the change in offensive system. I don't know, and I don't even think the coaching staff knows really kind of what they've got within this new system. I'm excited to see what they can do. They're now in the 2000s when it comes to offense, and I like that. I think Stoops is a great coach defensively. He's always going to get after you, and that's going to be kind of where they hang their hat. They're going to try to create opportunities for their offense, and their offense, I think just by virtue of a change in mindset, will be able to capitalize a little bit more, or actually a lot more than they did a year ago. And you're going to see less catastrophic plays. You're going to see more buy-in. You're going to see more energy, and you're going to kind of see more creative type schemes because that's where they come from. Now they're bringing that Sean McVay LA Rams system into the SEC. So I'm interested to see kind of where they're at with that. The Wade twins were from right here in Tennessee, Summit High School. They committed, I think over the weekend maybe, or late last week, they committed to Kentucky. So they're going to start pulling in some big time or more big time recruits than usual. So I'm excited to see what they have. I'm curious to see what they have. They're a team that, they've always been a team that could either finish dead last or contend for second place. And week to week, you have no idea. But they've got to play with more consistency, I think, just all around. And I think you'll get a better-looking offense, a more explosive offense, and one that has a potential to score a lot of points.
All right, now we get down to the bottom of the SEC East. Let's start with South Carolina. Hey, do you have any idea what you're going to get?
I think you're going to get a tight end heavy offense. I think they have some guys. I think they have like 4 or 5 guys, and the names escape me at the tight end position. But outside of that, I don't really know. I don't really know what to expect from them. They were kind of all over the place last year, talent wise. So they're starting from ground zero. So they can only get better. And all the reports that I've heard from spring practice is they've been putting in the work and they've been improving and steadily improving. I want to see what that looks like against SEC level competition before I really make a judgment on South Carolina. One thing I can tell you is they're going to play tough. They're going to fly around. They do have some talent. They're going to be viable. They're going to be pesky. I don't think they're going to get blown out a whole lot, but I don't think this year they're going to win a whole lot of games. I think in about 2 or 3 years, let's reevaluate them because I think they're going to be one of those teams that we're looking at going, okay, this team's dangerous.
Okay. And Tennessee, a lot of people are saying they're going to struggle to win many games this year. So many transfers, system change. I think the system with Josh Heupel coming in is good for the young freshman quarterback last year. Mm-hmm. I think that is good for him, but I worry about their skill position. There's a lot of depth that they just have to build. Yeah,
it's all about just rebuilding. They lost, like you said, a ton of transfers, and then they lose, some of their offensive linemen to the draft and stuff like that. So, but that was one of their deepest positions was offensive line. So I guess if you had to look at one positive for Tennessee, it's the offensive line. You got the Mays brothers headlining that group. Josh Heupel, I really like the system that he's bringing in. It's an up-tempo. It's that Central Florida system that they won with for so many years. It's a system that puts a lot of stress on the defense. And anytime you can stress out a defense, you're going to get some big plays out of it. So they might not be able to finish a whole bunch of games because they're going to get exhausted and worn out because they don't have there's a huge drop-off between their first string and second string. Mm-hmm. But they're going to be exciting to watch. They're going to be, for recruiting purposes, you're going to see a lot of recruits go, okay, I'm going to take a look at Tennessee now, where they wouldn't before, where Jeremy Pruitt was just an absolute disaster. Now they're going to look at it because A, they have a philosophy, they have a set culture, they have values, and they have a set offensive scheme. They have a set defensive scheme now, and they know what their identity is, and they're going to play to that. And recruits like that kind of thing. I mean, that's how Ole Miss was able to get what they got. They have an identity. Georgia, they were able to recruit well on the offensive line and at the running back room because that was their identity for several years. That's shifting a little bit now. We're starting to recruit better wide receivers. You're starting to see that shift. With Tennessee now, they're up tempo. You're going to start to see a lot of that play into it. This year, they're going to struggle. So Tennessee fans, buckle up. It's going to be it ain't going to be fun this year, right? But it's going to be. You're going to watch a lot of exciting losses for them. They're going to give up a lot of big plays. They're going to hit a lot of big plays, and it's going to be, again, they're going to be kind of pesky for about 2.5 quarters. Then the depth's going to kick in, and that's where they're going to lose.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those situations. These high up-tempo offenses, you literally need a two deep on defense just because the play volume will get you every time.
Exactly.
Let's look at Clark Lee at Vanderbilt. What kind of a job does he have in store for him this year?
Oh, he has a massive rebuild himself. He's doing a great job. I think he's saying all the right things. I think the players are buying in. I think they're, the first thing they need is an identity. Like I said for Tennessee, the two Tennessee programs in the SEC, they need an identity, and I think they found one. They just need for Vanderbilt. They just need to now recruit to that identity. They need to figure out and get creative with who they bring in and what they do with them when they get here. And Vanderbilt, unfortunately for them, 4 stars and 5 stars are pipe dreams for them. They're going to get one here and there, but it's pretty much going to be a pipe dream for them. So they're going to have to rely on stellar player development. You have a couple of recruiters that are going to get some of those guys, and then you have a bunch of great coaches on board that are going to develop those guys into playing well above their heads. It was the template at Stanford. Derek Mason, for whatever reason, couldn't bring that over. They go and get Clark Lee from Notre Dame, where Notre Dame has an actual tough time recruiting. I know that seems odd to say because they're Notre Dame, but there's some restrictions within the university that allows them to not get as many 5-star kids as they need or want. or have the opportunity to get that ultimately get turned away because there might be a minor ding here, a minor ding there. Clark Lee brings that recruiting philosophy down to Vanderbilt, where he knows this school is going to be really tough to get people in, right? And he's already been able to get to the administration and convince them, hey, we need massive facility upgrades, and so they started a $300 million project. Vanderbilt United, I think is what it's called. It's a $300 million fund. I'm sure people will keep adding to it, but it's a massive upgrade to the football and basketball facilities. They need that desperately, and if they're gonna compete. But again, Vanderbilt, just like South Carolina, Vanderbilt, differing from South Carolina, they're really good. They're really solid at quarterback. I really like Vanderbilt's quarterback, Ken Seals. He's going to be a special one. I think when they figure out kind of what to do with him, he's going to be a good quarterback. Harrison Bailey at Tennessee is going to be a really good quarterback. What they have Luke Doty at South Carolina, he's probably going to be a pretty solid quarterback. I'm not sure exactly. Out of those three, he's probably third out of that list. But he's still trending in the right direction. He's still got some talent there with Luke Doty. But with these bottom three, it's going to be kind of a card flip or a coin flip as to who's going to finish, 5th, 6th, and 7th. It's going to be a battle there. And you're going to see a lot of exciting football on the bottom of this SEC barrel. They're not going to win many games, but they're going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun football season, especially just because we have a football season with fans in the stands and people out there tailgating and doing all the things we love. Corey Burton, assistant coach at Hillwood High School, host of the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast with Israel Troop. Tune in and catch him. And, of course, he's going to be on Around the SEC, and we're going to work on improving the video aspect of his podcast. So stick around. Thanks, Corey. And
absolutely.
We will talk to you later.
No doubt. Great to be here. Thanks for having me, Steve.